Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our obesity presentation. We are from Artist Community, and I have with me today my colleagues. I have Edward Webb with me, Rosina Antwi, and Danelli Edwards today. And we're going to share some information with you today on obesity. We're going to go to the next slide, and I'll let you know what we're all about. And then following that, we're going to let you know the information we're going to cover. And so at EIS Catch, we are a grant-funded program that provides HIV and hepatitis C testing and education. We also do referrals for PrEP and PEP. We are a judgment-free zone. We also have education on smoking tobacco cessation. We do referrals for confirmatory for hepatitis C and HIV. And we have a behavioral health coordinator who can assist individuals with linking to mental health services, substance abuse services, as well as medical insurance, regardless of immigration status or documentation. And so today we're going to talk to you about what obesity actually is, the causes and risk factors of obesity, complications that obesity can cause, as well as treatments. All right, that looks delicious, doesn't it? I would get caught with one of these. This is a guilty pleasure of mine, but this is going to be the first slide we look at, and we know that this definitely contributes to obesity. Ooh, I don't want to keep looking at it. Let's keep going, Sean. All right. So what is being overweight, or what is obesity, right? So weight that is higher than what is considered healthy for a given height is described as overweight or obesity. The body mass index, or BMI, is a screening tool to determine overweight or obesity. All right. And so usually obesity is considered what's overweight for you, for your height and your weight. Okay. And the next slide. And it's really just that simple, guys. So again, BMI means body mass index, and a BMI is a person's weight in kilograms, which is divided by the square of their height in meters, right? A high BMI can indicate high body fatness, all right? And so your BMI is your weight status. If you're below 18.5, then you're considered underweight. Anywhere from 18.5 to 24.9, your weight is considered normal. Anything from 25.0 to 29.9 is considered overweight. And of course, that one more point of 30.0 or higher will put you in the bracket of obesity. And these numbers are usually determined by there's a chart that medical providers use, and they determine with this chart what a normal weight and would mean for a male or female, depending on age, height, and weight. All right, and the next slide. All right, and so the prevalence of obesity and severe obesity among adults in the United States between 2017 and 2018. I looked at the graph, and it just continues to go up. The numbers continue to go up. So in 2017 and 2018, the age-adjusted prevalence of obesity in adults was at 42.4%. And there were no significant differences between men or women among all adults or by age group. The age-adjusted prevalence of severe obesity in adults was at 9.2% and was higher in women than in men. And there's probably a good reason for that. I think women do more emotional eating than men. Men eat because it's good and it's quick, but I think women do more emotional eating. You know, if we're sad, we might eat. If we're happy, we may celebrate with food, you know, and other disorders that come along with obesity that we're going to touch on a little bit as we go along in the presentation. These things also contribute stress and depression. These things contribute to people eating more, which can contribute to them becoming overweight. Among adults, the prevalence of both Both obesity and severe obesity was highest in non-Hispanic Black adults compared to other races and Hispanic origin groups. The prevalence of severe obesity was highest among adults aged 40 to 59 compared to other age groups. All right. And I was reminded also that childbearing, right, also contributes to weight gain, and it's very difficult to lose that weight. Once a woman gains weight during her pregnancy, it's very difficult to lose that, especially if she's gone overboard with her cravings. All right, and then the next slide is a graph just explaining this, just breaking it down a little bit more, so that you can understand it. Some people need that visual and some people are okay with just the explanation, right? And so this is the visual to the explanation I just gave you. Next slide. So as far as the causes, we're going to hear from Danelli, and she's gonna pick us up and let us know what happens here.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about causes. When it comes to obesity, you can gain weight based on the amount of calories that you eat. So if you eat more calories than you're burning, then it can then it can cause you to gain weight. Some causes of obesity can be overeating, no exercise, when you're eating unhealthy meals, and laying down or sleeping right after you ate. Next slide. Right, so more causes can be a diet high in simple carbs, genetics, frequency of eating, medications, psychological factors, diseases such as hypothyroidism, insulin resistance, polycystic ovary syndrome, which is also called PCOS, and Cushing's syndrome. And the other two can be social or environmental issues. Next slide. All right, risk factors. Obesity usually results from a combination of causes and contributing factors. So this can be family inheritance, lifestyle choices, age, pregnancy, lack of sleep, quitting smoking, stress, depression, and much more. Next slide. All right, so according to the CDC, people who have been considered obese compared to those with a healthy weight are at an increased risk of many serious diseases. So these can include mortality, which is death, high blood pressure, also known as hypertension, having a high LDL cholesterol and low HDL cholesterol. I believe high LDL is the bad cholesterol, correct? Yeah. So, and also high levels of triglycerides. You can also have type 2 diabetes and also be at risk for COVID-19. Next slide. All right, so more complications can include coronary heart disease, stroke, gallbladder disease, osteoarthritis, which is a breakdown of cartilage and bone within a joint, sleep apnea and breathing problems, low quality of life, mental illnesses such as depression, anxiety, and other mental disorders, body pain and difficulty with physical functioning, and also cancer. Next slide. All right, so now Edward will be talking.
Okay, we're going to diagnosis. Doctors usually diagnose obesity by performing various tests. These tests include taking your health history. Your doctor may review your weight history, weight loss efforts, physical activity and exercise habits, eating patterns and appetite control, what other conditions you've had, medications, stress levels, and other issues about your health. The doctor may also review your family's health history to see if you may be predisposed to certain conditions. Also, general physical exams, calculating your BMI, body mass index, checking for other health problems. Next slide. Treatments. There is no single or simple solution to obesity epidemic. It's a complex problem. There has to be a multifaceted approach, which includes dietary changes, exercising regularly, behavior changes, medication, surgery, lifestyle, and home remedies. I wanted to just say something because personally I dealt with weight my whole life. A lot of things too, like you see a lot of other slides, it's the fast food. And the convenience of eating fast foods is like, has heavily contributed to obesity, especially in America. The obesity rate is high, one of the highest obesity rates in the world. We have to include that there too, because they mention all these other variables that contribute to obesity, but it's part of the fast food culture in America. In our capitalistic societies heavily plays upon it. Next
I
slide.
agree, Edward. The thing especially in the United States that we know about is that it costs so much to eat healthily. They make it so easy to access fast food. You get those 2 for deals. You find fast food everywhere you go. But if you want a fresh lettuce or fresh fruits, it costs so much.
Yeah,
you know, the money, the money that you spend on healthy foods, that's your grocery bill. 1 week can be your grocery bill for the month on healthy foods, which is insane. Thank you for sharing that.
So these are some solutions, what you can do. Being an active participant in your care's important. One way to do this is by preparing for your appointment. Think about your needs and goals for treatment. Also write down a list of questions to ask. These questions may include, what eating or activity habits are likely contributing to my health concerns and weight gain? What can I do about the challenges I face in managing my weight? Do I have other health problems that are caused by obesity? You have something in the chat. Commercials everywhere, that's true. The propaganda behind fast food is everywhere, especially with social media. Before, you just have ads on maybe local media outlets or the newspaper or magazines or posters in the neighborhood. But with social media, with most of us so in tune with social media, like the ads are everywhere now. It's constant feed of propaganda. Next slide. What can you do? Options continue. Should I see a dietitian? Should I see a behavioral counselor with expertise in weight management? What are the treatment options for obesity and my other health problems? Is weight loss intervention an option for me? The dietitian is especially good to see if you have access and availability, because they take these tests. They take like allergenic tests as when they do the dietitian test, and they tell what fruits or vegetables or foods are like healthier for you, or which are more likely to cause weight gain, or which are likely to help you burn weight as well. So a dietitian with access is a great thing to see. Next slide.
And so those fad diets, those are really not the best to do. And there's not a one size fits all diet. Usually when people are changing their eating habits, the first thing they go to is like salads and things of that nature. And that may not, you made a very valid point, that may not be good for everyone. Certain things that might help me cut fat may actually contribute to another one's weight gain. So thank you for that information.
What to expect from your doctor. During the appointment, your doctor will ask you some questions about your weight and symptoms. Questions such as, how much did you weigh in high school? What life events may have been associated with weight gain? For women, childbearing. Men also gain weight during women pregnancies as well. It's not just, of course, physically, it's more for women, but men also at times gain weight too during childbearing as well. What and how much do you eat in a typical day? How much activity do you get in a typical day? During what periods of your life did you gain weight? These are some good questions, but most people don't like think about questions like this or don't remember weight Like this might be constant for some people, but it's good ideas to have when like ahead of time from going to the doctor, some things that you might want to self-reflect on. Next slide. What you can do, continue. You can also begin to make choices that will help you start to lose weight, such as making healthy changes in your diet, include more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains in your diet. Begin to reduce portion sizes. Increasing your activity level, try to get up and move around your home more frequently. Start gradually if you aren't in good shape or aren't used to exercising. Even a 10-minute daily walk can help. If you have any health conditions or over a certain age, over 40 for men and over 50 for women, wait until you talk to your doctor before you start a new exercise program. To me, this was like one of the best slides on the whole presentation, especially with because that could be challenging to people if you're big. Like I've been big, I've been slim, I've been big, so I know how it feels to be different, but the challenges of just even trying to exercise when you can't do a push-up, but try just to even get down and see if you could just hold yourself up. Like it's the small challenges that lead to the like greater like accomplishments later. So anything helps. The walking, any mobility, any physical activity, anything that could produce sweat. And when they say it's all weight, water weight, it's not true. In order to burn calories, you have to produce sweat. Next slide. What you can do, continue. What are the factors that you believe affect your weight? How is your daily life affected by your weight? What diets or treatments have you tried to lose weight? What are your weight loss goals? Are you ready to make changes in your lifestyle to lose weight? What do you think might prevent you from losing weight? These are some great questions to ask yourself as you go on your weight journey. And these is a great way to have a gauge on how much progress you made or if you slid back, but it's a great way to keep yourself in check. I'm gonna turn the next part of the presentation over to my fellow coworker, Rosina.
Next slide, please. Yeah, so moving on, we are going to talk about Healthy People 2030. So Healthy People is a national effort that sets goals and objectives to improve the health and well-being of people in the United States. And this initiative began in 1979 to help reduce preventable death and injury. These goals are set every 10 years. Since the initiative was first launched, the US has made a significant progress. The first launch was done in 1990, and so it said like every 10 years. So the first one was done in 1990, and then like in 2000, that was the second one. 2010 was the third one, 2020, the fourth, and then we have the 10 years, which is like 2030. So Healthy People helps users to assess data on changes in health status of the US. And these data also inform each new decade's goals and objectives. So with the Healthy People 2030 is the 5th edition of the Healthy People, like I did mention earlier on. So according to a report by the National Center for Disease Statistics data, about 2 in 5 adults and 1 in 5 children and adolescents in the United States have obesity and other overweight. Yes. And also, one of the goals also focus on helping people to eat healthy and get enough physical activity to reach and maintain a healthy weight. Next slide, please. So moving on, we have a short video that we are going to watch. So Sean, can you play the video?
If you want to eat healthy and feel your best, you gotta try Kachava. Kachava is the world's
Obesity, a serious health problem. Some say that you are what you eat. But is this really true? Suppose you live in a city. You are lying on the sofa with some friends watching TV, and you get hungry. You'll have to choose hamburger or salad, fizzy drink or glass of water, apple or a biscuit. I bet there are times when you've had the hamburger, fizzy drink and biscuit. Not a problem if you only make these unhealthy choices once in a while, but a big problem if it's nearly every day. Obesity is a major health hazard and is associated with a long list of diseases, including heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain types of cancer. Obese children are likely to be obese into adulthood, and obese adults are about 6 times more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. Obesity is commonly defined using the Body Mass Index, BMI, a simple measure that is calculated by dividing a person's weight in kilograms by the square of their height in meters. A person with a BMI of 30 kilograms meters squared or more is classed as obese. But BMI does not always tell us enough about body fat. Doctors may also look at how much body fat there is around the middle of the body by measuring the waist to hip ratio. Some people tend to put on weight around the middle of their body. This has been linked to a higher risk of future health problems. Worldwide obesity has more than doubled since 1980. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, in 2008, 1.6 billion adults aged 20 and older were overweight. Of these, over 200 million men and nearly 300 million women were obese. Nearly 43 million children under the age of 5 were overweight in 2010. Obesity is preventable, says the WHO. So why are millions of people obese? Many different factors play a role in causing this disease. What you eat and how much exercise you do may have a significant impact on your weight. But this is not the full story. Obesity tends to run in families. This indicates a genetic link, but it is difficult to know if a family is sharing obesity genes or just sharing similar patterns of unhealthy behavior. Luckily, twin studies have helped to solve this problem. Identical twins share the same genes, but non-identical twins don't. Genes are regions of our DNA that regulate how our bodies capture, store, and release energy from food. Researchers have found that identical twins are more likely than non-identical twins to have similar BMI and waist measurements. This evidence suggests a significant genetic component to obesity. Obesity genes also control our eating behaviors and how much satisfaction we get from food. We all have chemical marks in our DNA that can switch genes on and off without changing the DNA sequence. Epigenetics is an emerging area of science that is uncovering the links between these chemical switches, our genes, and the environment they function in. This research is providing exciting insights into the causes of obesity. A number of environmental triggers such as diet, stress, and exposure to drugs and toxins lead to epigenetic changes. Recent studies have shown that a woman's diet during pregnancy can change how her child's DNA functions and may increase their risk of obesity later in life. Scientists and doctors hope that a better understanding of how our body regulates our energy balance and eating patterns will lead to improved treatment approaches and drug therapies in the future. If you eat a balanced diet and exercise regularly, you are less likely to become overweight. But it isn't always easy to make healthy lifestyle choices. There has been a dramatic increase in the production of cheap, high-energy foods that can be transported to our homes and around the world. Our daily lives involve fewer opportunities for physical activity than in the past, and we are constantly exposed to the marketing, advertising, and other pressures to buy calorie-rich foods. These factors are thought to underlie the rapid increase in obesity rates worldwide. 65% of the world's population live in countries where overweight and obesity kills more people than underweight.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it right now. I think I found the single biggest productivity hack of 2020.
Yeah, and this was a video. We summarized everything that we did talk about today. And moving on, next slide, Sean. Yeah. Is your child at risk of being overweight? Statistics for US school age children shows a prevalence rate as higher as 16% in US and 19% in Texas. Do you want to know more? So if you want to have more information about obesity, talk to your doctor, and also you may also talk to your local doctor or your talk to your doctor, and then you may have more information about obesity. You can also start, like Adrian did mention, of doing like a lot of exercise every day. You don't have to really kill yourself. Like, it's really hard to stop one thing at a time. Just take it at a time, like little by little, and before you know, like you will reach there. Next slide. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach us, and then like we will answer any question for you. And thank you once again for your attention and then listening to us.
Thanks, Rosina. You know, you made a valid point. I liked this slide before. Can you go back, Sean, for me? Where the question about if you're concerned about your child being overweight. You know, a lot of these things have to be taught from early on. You know, I appreciate Edward sharing, you know, having to deal with his weight off and on throughout the years. I have as well. Being short, I have a disadvantage if I overeat because I'm short. So gaining weight is really not a good idea for me, right? And I feel like I've been up and down throughout the years trying to maintain a certain healthy weight. But one of the things I think society focuses on so much besides the weight is how they look. You know, everybody wants to be a certain size, everybody's dressing up in certain clothing because it fits this particular body size. Society dictates a lot of what we do and don't do. And it's important for individuals to understand the severity of this condition. Obesity, I guess we can actually say, looking at those numbers, is a pandemic. And if we don't begin early with our children, you know, in teaching them how to eat the right foods and when to snack and what's the right thing to snack on, then they turn into us struggling years later, you know, with trying to find that balance, right? And so it's really important to teach these things when children are smaller. A lot of times, I'm guilty of having given into my children's cravings or their desires. You know, like they would want ice cream and we would be out and other kids would have ice cream. And so that's just one example. We need to remember that there are so many things that can contribute to a person becoming overweight. In a couple of the slides, we did mention medication. So we have to be smart about who we are and what we're doing. And if medication is a contributing factor, then we should be talking to that dietitian that Edward mentioned earlier, or a nutritionist, because certain medications can contribute to our weight gain. There are so many toxins in medication. They help one thing and can hurt something else, right? The simple carbs that Danelli talked about, we want to be very clear. That means ice cream, that means cookies, that means sodas, those things that have empty calories, right? If we make them finish, all right, so here's a comment regarding our children, right? If we make them finish everything before they leave the dining table, it comes to habits when it becomes a habit when they grow up, right? And so the other thing is sugar, simple carb, right? The other thing that's important is to be mindful of when we're shopping and when we're preparing food. There's this big rule, like don't go shopping when you're hungry, right? Because you're gonna buy probably all the wrong things. I try not to, well, no, I really don't. I usually prepare something when I'm hungry, right? It's rare that there's a meal planned ahead of time, which my husband is really big on, which would also contribute to preparing healthier foods. When you have an idea of what you want, you kind of prepare them as you go along. Um, as opposed to waiting until you're hungry, because it's easy to grab that burger because you can just order that or grab that on the way in, as opposed to standing there chopping up a salad or preparing something a little healthier. Um, when we talk about our children, it's easier for them to grab a cookie as opposed to an apple, especially if that's what they see us doing, you know. And so it's very important to be role models. Remember that obesity is dangerous. It can cause heart disease, various cancers, thyroidism, hypothyroidism, which is not healthy. This can cause issues with your weight and the way you metabolize food. Your body metabolizes food, and so we're hoping that this information is helpful to you all. And if you want to ask any questions or if you need us to go further into this topic, just follow the link on our social media and we'll be happy to get back to you. All right. Thank you guys for participating and presenting these slides. This was really great. Thank you, Sean, for your help today as well.